The radical left has taken over the Democratic Party.
Hello and welcome to Think Progressively, covering politics and all the other chaos life has to offer. This is episode 108, recorded on Saturday, that's right, December 16th from Milwaukee. I'm Joe.
And I'm Jason.
And on today's episode, we discuss the new Daily Wire film Lady Ballers in its entirety and watch Jason pierce his eyes out live on stream.
And my ears.
And his ears.
No, we're not doing
that. We're actually doing part 2 of what will happen if Trump becomes president. But first, the headlines.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Up first, the GOP-led House officially opens their impeachment inquiry into the corrupt Biden family and all their dealings. Or something.
So the formal inquiry comes after a year of informal hearings,
which we talked about before.
And it's unclear that there is any real legal distinction between the two. It's supposed to give Congress more powers, but that's kind of unclear if that's even true, legally speaking. So I'm not sure what the difference is between now and previously, other than we have a new speaker. So maybe this is something that Mike Johnson wanted. They also have not actually presented any evidence to the public.
Nope.
From all of these hearings. And the only things that have been made public are all people testifying that they do not have any evidence of any wrongdoings by Joe Biden.
I believe Chuck Grassley went on air and said specifically, I don't know what evidence we actually have, but we'll have to see where it goes.
And he voted for it anyway.
Yep. One of my favorite things though was I don't know if you saw the interview with Jake Tapper and James Comer, where Comer basically says that Biden's DOJ indicted Hunter to protect him from something else.
Right, yeah, I did see that very brief clip of the Jake Tapper going, yes, the old indict someone to protect them gambit.
Right.
And this, as we all know, we talked about many times previously, the federal prosecutor who was appointed by Donald Trump and was left in place, even though could have been replaced. One of those Schedule F employees that we talked about serve at the will of the president.
Yep.
But he was left in place by Joe Biden specifically to not appear to be interfering in the investigation. Now he's part of the deep state, even though he was placed there by Donald Trump.
So, yeah, their strategy is not going that well so far in their formal inquiry.
No, it's not. This does lead us down a path that likely leads to articles of impeachment and a vote on impeachment next year before the election.
Do you think they'll actually do it?
They'll definitely take the vote, because if they don't, then it's like saying that they are exonerating Joe Biden. And you can't have that right before the election either, because Donald Trump's got to be able to say Joe Biden was impeached. He's the one that's pushing all of this, because then it can't be used against him that he was impeached twice. He can say, well, so was Joe Biden. And in fact, in August, Donald Trump posted to Truth Social, either impeach the bum or fade into oblivion. They did it to us. So that is him explicitly telling Congress that they need to impeach Joe Biden, and those are the orders that they are following.
And it's going to be really super interesting, too, because now that both Kevin McCarthy is going to be gone, George Santos is gone, they have a very slim majority in the House. So I'm very curious to see if there's going to be a couple of, because there are several other Republicans who are in Biden districts right now who are probably not happy that they'll have to take that vote.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if they're going to end up flipping on it or just keep on the trend of, you know what, whatever the party says, we got to do it.
Yeah, the inquiry vote went completely along party lines. Every Republican voted for it. Every Democrat voted against it. We'll see how strong Mike Johnson is as a speaker.
Yeah.
Is he able to carry enough votes to get the impeachment to go to the Senate, where obviously it will never get past the Senate? And not just because of the 50-50 split. There are enough Republicans in the Senate that would not vote for impeachment with no evidence
Correct.
of any wrongdoing.
Correct.
And they have said as much. The Senate is openly against the House in this matter, and even Mitch McConnell has come out saying that this is ridiculous.
Yep.
And along those same lines, we had some news on Wednesday when President Hunter Biden, was subpoenaed to appear before a closed-door deposition before the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. Instead, he gave a speech in front of the Capitol building stating that he would only speak in an open hearing, fearing that any private testimony would be manipulated and taken out of context by conservatives looking to attack his father, Joe Biden. And in fact, in that same Jake Tapper, James Comer interview, he asks about that specifically and says, you say you want this whole process to be very transparent, why not have a public hearing? And James Comer's only response was, well, you only want it to be public because you're part of the media, and my job is not to entertain the media, it's to get to the truth.
Which is hilarious coming from the Republican Party.
Right. And no, we, the public, want to see what happens. We don't want your filtered and biased version of what Hunter Biden said in a closed-door hearing. We want to just hear what he says. Why not have that? And the reason is because he's going to say exactly what he did say in his speech in front of the Capitol, which we will play for you right now.
For 6 years, I have been the target of the unrelenting Trump attack machine, shouting, "Where's Hunter?" Well, here's my answer. I am here. Let me state as clearly as I can. My father was not financially involved in my business, not as a practicing lawyer, not as a board member of Burisma, not in my partnership with a Chinese private businessman, not in my investments at home nor abroad, and certainly not as an artist.
And I had to look it up, Joe. Apparently, Hunter Biden is a painter.
He is a painter.
His paintings sold for
way more than what
it
should.
A lot of money. That's part of this investigation is saying, like, well, it's somehow a scheme to try to funnel money to Joe Biden. And it was like his paintings sold for like $1.3 million.
Yeah.
Do you know how much money Joe Biden raises as a candidate for president? Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yep.
Like he needs this painting scheme to get $1.3 million. No, the Republicans made it completely legal to just create a super PAC and anonymously funnel money to any candidate you want to. There's no need to go through all these hoops and all this weird shenanigans. The reason Hunter Biden's paintings sell for way more than they should based on his talent is because the Republicans made him famous.
Yep. And beauty is truly in the eye of the beholder, or in this case, the rage of the conservative.
They're not garbage. I looked at them. They're competent.
Would you pay $1.3 million for it?
I don't have $1.3 million to pay for anything, so no. But I mean, if I had one, I would put it up. It's not like I care about Hunter Biden or Joe Biden, but they're decent paintings. They're not trash. We're not talking about like George Bush level amateur painting. He has some talent. I was surprised. I didn't know anything about the whole art thing. And when I heard him say artist at the end, I was like, wait, I have to look this up. What is this about?
Well, and okay, here's my hot take on the whole Hunter Biden thing. Number one, as a general source of information, I do not trust Hunter Biden. We already know that. He has demonstrated thoroughly he does not make good choices. However, with that said, I fully back his idea to defy these subpoenas and try to make everything more transparent because that's what people are going to resonate with. And even if there are certain procedures and security procedures in place, we already saw how Republicans have constantly defied subpoenas in the past and how the idea of a congressional subpoena means nothing anymore because it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Well, both James Comer and Jim Jordan, who are the chairs of those two committees, released statements said that they will be initiating procedures to charge Hunter with contempt of Congress for denying the subpoena. And as we know from January 6th, 5 House Republicans defied congressional subpoenas. Kevin McCarthy, Andy Biggs, Mo Brooks, Scott Perry, and Jim Jordan.
Yep.
As well as Trump allies Mark Meadows, Dan Scavino, Steve Bannon, and Peter Navarro. And only Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro actually faced any consequences. So Republicans have already, as you just said, opened this box.
Yeah.
That congressional subpoenas mean nothing.
Right. So play hardball. I I don't care anymore. I'm not going to do this game again where Republicans get to do whatever they want and then Democrats have to be the law and order party behind the scenes. Play a hardball.
And as we said, is Hunter Biden slimy? Did he have these business dealings specifically because of who his father is? Yes. Did he earn any of it legitimately? No. Does that somehow disqualify Joe Biden from being the president? Let's say it does. I am all for it. You know what? If you have crappy kids that use your name and position to gain influence and money from
international affairs,
right, then fine. Then you can't be president, you can't run for president, you can't be involved in the government. All right, let's kick out Joe Biden. But then let's also remember that Trump has 6 of those kids that do the exact same thing, one of which has gotten billions of dollars from the Saudi. Ivanka has gotten millions of dollars in patents from China while her dad was president. And then now we can't have Joe Biden or Donald Trump run for president. I'm all for it. Let's do this. Let's do the Kamala Harris versus Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis 2024. I'm fine with that.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Up next, a familiar character is back on X or Twitter, whatever. Elon Musk has officially reinstated Alex Jones onto the platform again,
who was kicked off of Twitter for harassing the parents of victims of Sandy Hook and saying that it was a false flag and that they're crisis actors and their children were not killed in a mass shooting, and it was all a ploy to try to take America's guns away. Turn the frogs gay.
He was one of the first true victims of nationalized outrage of cancel culture. Do you remember that?
He was kicked off of YouTube.
Yeah.
He was kicked off of
and there's so much debate about it too.
Well, and it's justified because it opens those companies up for lawsuits. Alex Jones is on the hook for over $1 billion in damages.
Yep.
For what he said. Why would you want him on your platform? It just opens you up for liability because that's all he does is say crazy nonsense.
And not only did Elon reinstate Alex Jones's Twitter, he made a whole event out of it. First, he actually asked Twitter in a poll, should he reinstate Alex Jones onto the platform, which of course was overwhelmingly yes.
Most people that engage with Elon Musk tweets are
right-wing douchebags.
Yeah, they're Elon Musk fans, which is the same thing.
And then shortly after his account was activated, Alex joined Elon, as well as Vivek Ramaswamy, Andrew Tate, and Laura Loomer.
Accused rapist and sex trafficker Andrew Tate.
And Laura Loomer for a joint, what do you call a Twitter Spaces thing anymore? Podcast, a stream?
Bad quality Zoom call?
Sure, I like that. Where they talked for several hours about just nonsense.
And if you want to hear Vivek Ramaswamy take a piss, that happened.
This was the P tape for Ramaswamy.
Forgot to turn his microphone off while he went to the bathroom. And of course, Alex Jones was nice enough to point it out. I can't hear much in the audio, and a lot of people have made fun of Vivek for having a weak stream. But Alex... Somebody's paying.
Oh my God. Someone needs to make that attack soon. Can Ron DeSantis, with all his milquetoast, just somehow try to make that masculinity argument against Vivek Ramaswamy? I'd die. I also loved how the article that covered this whole stream talked about They said, quote, the conversation covered a series of, at times, confusing topics, including the, quote, deep state and the threats that the participants perceived to masculinity.
Of course, that's the real problem.
The real pressing issues of the day that billionaires need to be worrying about, and also presidential candidates need to be worrying about.
And it was also announced that Alex Jones will have a brand new show exclusively on X.
I'm sure advertisers are going to love that on Twitter.
Right. And X giveth and X taketh away, because also announced recently, Tucker Carlson is going to be leaving posting on X exclusively. He still will post his show on X, but he is going to start his own streaming service. And if you're interested, Joe, you can pay just $9 a month or $72 a year.
To get Tucker Carlson?
Yes, the Tucker Carlson, and his logo, it looks like a red pill. It's very classy.
Well, now I need to see this. God damn it.
In an interview with Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson said that, quote, the nature of the app, speaking of X, doesn't lend itself to, like, putting a big library of videos right in front of you on one page. So that's why he had to launch his own streaming service, because Elon Musk could not get X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Then that's the problem with all of this, right? Why change the name? It's confusing.
Yes.
So you always have to say them both.
Yes.
It's dumb.
It is dumb.
And he couldn't change the UI, the way the platform works, to accommodate having a video library, because that's not how Twitter works.
No.
Obviously, which is what everyone said when everyone's like, oh, I'm going to stream on Twitter. Good luck. So good luck to Alex Jones.
And good job, Elon, for already casting away your very first big name that was supposed to be on your platform.
So now let's talk about some news coming out of Texas. And this really is the story that made me the most angry.
Yeah, so this is not good news.
When doing research, it's just proof of something that we've said all along. There is no such thing as an exemption to Republican abortion bans.
Correct.
It was always a lie. Texas's abortion ban is supposed to have an exception for the health of the mother. So if you are in danger because of your pregnancy, you are supposed to be able to get a medical exemption and have an abortion. It's something that's medically necessary. So we had the story of Kate Cox, who is already a mother. She already has children. She wants to have more children in the future. Her fetus was diagnosed on November 27th with trisomy 18, a genetic abnormality that usually results in miscarriage, stillbirth, or death soon after birth.
And we shouldn't downplay usually in that sentence. Like, it's a very high percentage that the child does not come out.
Right. So there is no positive outcome for this baby.
Correct.
Right? Fetus, clump of cells. Again, the wording to me does not matter. I don't care. You can call it a baby all you want. Doesn't bother me. This baby is going to either die in the womb or shortly after birth. Also, there is a risk to Cox's health, and her doctors said the abortion was medically necessary to protect her health and particularly her future fertility, because, as we said, she does want to have more children. If she goes through with having this baby to term, even though it's going to die at some point, it also would mean that she is at significant risk of being infertile in the future.
And that's the better outcome.
Right. And also she could die.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, if she doesn't already die or have horrible complications afterwards, the better outcome is that she's infertile.
So Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, as we said last week,
said, not on my watch.
He has no medical training or license to practice medicine, sent letters to area hospitals threatening legal action if they performed the judged to be medically necessary by a licensed practicing doctor if they performed that abortion. And in the court filing, Paxton stated that he did not want Texas courts to become, quote, a revolving door of permission slips to obtain abortions. And in a unanimous ruling, all 9 Republican members of the Texas State Supreme Court denied Kate Cox an exemption to the state's abortion ban on Monday. Luckily for the health of Kate Cox, she had already left the state to get an abortion somewhere else.
So she is okay, but holy crap. Medical professionals have also been commenting on this, saying we don't know what the standard is anymore now for these exceptions.
Which is the point.
Which is literally the point. So when any Republican tries to tell you, oh no, we'll definitely have exceptions for the life and health of the mother. No, they won't. They don't care about the health of the women. They don't care about what they're trying to save. All they care is making sure that a fetus comes out. They don't care if the fetus is okay. They don't care if the mother is damaged. If a fetus comes out, they're happy. That's it.
They don't ever plan on granting it to anyone. It's just there so that they can say that they're being reasonable.
That's all it is. And that's why, again, never trust them when they try to tell you otherwise.
M&Ms will not be satisfied until every last cartoon character is deeply unappealing and totally androgynous. Until the moment you wouldn't want to have a drink with any one of them. That's the goal. When you're totally turned off, they've won.
Boy ain't right.
For Foxed in the Head this week, we have conservative, yet calls himself a liberal constantly, or moderate, incel icon, Tim Pool, who becomes just irrationally triggered by 2 studies, even though he doesn't know it's 2 studies. He says it's 1 study that was published that suggests prehistoric women may have shared hunting duties, and there might actually be a biological mechanism that would allow them to excel at those hunting duties. We'll link the Notre Dame news article that talks about the study. Like I said, there were 2 studies submitted simultaneously to the journal American Anthropologist, one giving the physiological evidence and one the archaeological evidence for their claims. These were published by authors Kara Akobach, an assistant professor in the Department of Anthropology and director of the Human Energetics Laboratory at the University of Notre Dame, and Sarah Lacey, an anthropologist with expertise in biological archaeology at the University of Delaware. So, 2 credentialed academics, experts in the relevant fields that we're talking about, published in a peer-reviewed journal that is in the field that we're talking about. Tim Pool knows better, so let's hear what he has to say.
Oh, no.
Yes, it's patriarchy. That's right. The reason we believe that men are better hunters than women is because of patriarchy. Men took the seats of power and then lied to women and tricked them into thinking they were not great athletes and endurance runners. That's the only explanation. Because according to the Daily Mail, debunking the myth of the male hunter, prehistoric women were better at hunting than men, study claims. Women have long been seen as child rearers, while men are seen as hunters. Study claims prehistoric women practiced hunting and were better than men. Well, that proves it. It's a study. You see, I got to tell you, I think this is how you get politics and science. And then the people who are like, I believe the science. It's like, well, you're believing proselytizing from woke cultists who are injecting their worldviews into quote unquote science to interpret it the way they want and then tell you what they think is true and have you believe it. Here's the reality. I hate to say it. Men are better hunters than women. The study is stupid. And I am a qualified scientist who can make this claim. That's right, because apparently if these people are claiming to be scientists, then certainly we all are. The argument they're making is that women are better endurance runners than men. And they say you have to look at it like women are marathon runners and men are power lifters. Therefore, women were better. It's not true. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to get at, but maybe back then or something, men didn't want to go running. But my understanding, because I watched a video about this Native American tribe where they run like hundreds of miles, like just full sprint and stuff like that. But let's read this. They say, if you envisage a prehistoric hunter, the vision of a caveman might spring to mind. But a new study claims that these cavemen paled in comparison to their female counterparts. Oh, wow. While women have long been seen as child rearers and gatherers and men as hunters, researchers from the University of Notre Dame have debunked this theory. No, they didn't. They've made a claim. The study found that not only did prehistoric women engage in the practice of hunting, they probably did, but their female anatomy and biology would have made them intrinsically better suited for it. I completely disagree with that. That is a political statement. I do believe it's fair to say that women hunted. Sure, women hunt today. And it's probably 80-20. Go to any hobby event. Bro, I'm sorry, man. Go to the skate park. 90% males. Good luck if there's a single female there. Go to a comic shop, a card shop. Go to the poker tables. It's the same. Yes, there are some women there. It's overwhelmingly dudes doing all of these things. I don't know what it is that women are doing. I don't hang out in spaces where there tend to be large groups of women. Perhaps they're shopping or something. The argument is that shopping is akin to gathering, and the reason why men want to score objectives is that it's akin to hunting. I believe it makes infinitely more sense that as women were gathering and men were hunting, this is why you have the trope of women shopping, because they're effectively going out and finding things to bring back to the family that the family needs. I think it's admirable. I don't see anything negative about it. And I think it's silly that people are offended at the notion that women like to shop. This is a funny thing to me. Guys go work. They slay the boar. They bring the meat back. They give the family food. Women go out and collect things that are useful to the family. So if you look at this in like a 1950s sense of the wife shopping and the man working, Well, yeah. Is the man going to go shopping for things the family needs when he's at work? No, the guy's at work handling the new account for, the TPS reports or whatever. Then he comes home, he makes money, and the wife says, I'm going to go to the store to pick up the groceries we need for food so we can have dinner. I think it's completely admirable. This trope's like, women like shopping. Well, women took it personally, got offended by it, when in reality, it's like, dude, I hate going shopping. I love it when there's just food. Like, you pick up the food, and then, I'll tell you the things that I like, and I appreciate it. But, I don't mind going to the grocery store with my girlfriend, stuff like that. But we're getting winter clothes, and I'm like, just grab me whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'll try it on and, grab me whatever you think works. I appreciate that.
Okay, so I know that was a very long clip, and we're not actually done because there's more I want to get into with this.
Why was this not our main segment? This could have been our entire... We just go point by point.
It was insane.
I'm losing my mind.
And as you yelled while we were in the middle of watching that... Yes, he is not actually looking at the study. He's not looking at the article that we're going to link from Notre Dame, not Notre Dame, the church, but Notre Dame, the university. He didn't look at that news article. He didn't go to the actual studies, which I'm not going to because I have to pay for it, but Tim Pool makes a lot of money doing his dumb show. He's just looking at a Daily Mail article.
Which is his preferred source.
Yeah, he always quotes the Daily Mail.
And he's getting angry.
Based on the way they are depicting the study.
They didn't debunk anything. It's just a claim.
Yeah, I'm as much of a scientist as these women.
Well, yeah, that's not actual science. That's just, what do you say, like cultist, woke ideology or whatever the hell he was even
politics.
I'm like, oh my God, look at the goddamn study. What are you doing? And then he went on this whole tirade about how, women actually like shopping. Oh, cool. So we're just going to go right into the... That's what
women be shopping, yo.
That's what drives me nuts because, okay, Jason, I'm upset.
I like when there's just food.
Men go out and slay boars.
Right.
Like, dude,
with the TPS
your
reports.
job is a podcaster. What are you talking about? You're slaying boars.
He doesn't see any women at the skate park or the poker table or
the gun shows,
the card shop, or the comic book shop.
But that was going to be my whole thing.
Clearly they never were hunters.
He reads
scientific research.
Right. He reads the first sentence of whatever that news article was and says, people often believe of this trope that men are hunters and women are this, but that's actually may not actually be the case based on this study. And he goes, that's nonsense. It's ridiculous. I don't know why they're trying to even push this whole thing. It's not because we pretended for so long that men are just better hunters and that women just like being gatherers. It's because we are biologically set to do these things. And I can prove that. Anyway, let me talk about how I can't find anyone at freaking gun shows or poker tables. There's no women there. Oh, gee, why? Because they're just, I don't know, biologically poker players? What are you talking about, Tim? By the way, let's go shopping for food because I'm biologically better at gathering things or something like that. And yeah, get me a sweater because I don't care what I wear. Where are you going, Tim?
My favorite part was he mentioned watching some video about Native American sprinters. And then doesn't talk about it. He just says that he watched that video and then moves on.
Let me read the article some more.
So I actually want to read from the article, the news story that's talking about these studies from the Notre Dame website. And this is the physiology part, which is the only part that Tim Pool is going to look at, by the way. It must be, that's as far as he got in that Daily Mail article. But it talks about estrogen being one of the main reasons why they're saying that women might have been better suited for these prolonged periods of endurance activities. It says, from a metabolic standpoint, the female body is better suited for endurance activity, which would have been critical in early hunting because they would have had to run the animals down into exhaustion before actually going in for the kill.
Which is a well-known strategy of what they used to use back in the day.
And two huge contributors to that enhanced metabolism are hormones, in this case, estrogen and adiponectin, which are typically present in higher quantities in female bodies than in male. These two hormones play a critical role in enabling the female body to modulate glucose and fat, a function that is key in athletic performance. Estrogen, in particular, helps regulate fat metabolism by encouraging the body to use its stored fat for energy before using up its carbohydrate stores. Since fat contains more calories than carbs do, it is a longer, slower burn, which means that the same sustained energy can keep you going longer and can delay fatigue. Estrogen also protects the body cells from damage during heat exposure due to extreme physical activity. So that is the basis, right? That's what they're saying. Because estrogen helps regulate fat metabolism, it helps you burn fat before carbohydrates, gives you more sustained energy for longer periods of time, and also helps protect your cells. That is the physiological basis. Now, Tim Pool does examine in a graph that I think was taken from the study. Again, I'm not paying to look at the study, I'm sorry. But he's not either. He's just looking at that Daily Mail article.
Okay.
So let's hear scientist Tim Pool examine these physiological claims.
Oh, I'm going to get angry again.
So here's what they show, right? The suite of features below confer an endurance activity advantage. I'm going to completely debunk this very, very, very easily. This is hilarious. Better psychological pacing, greater fatigue resistance through central and peripheral neuromuscular mechanisms. Better insulin sensitivity can increase fatty acid oxidation and spare protein. Increased fatty acid oxidation through mechanisms involving estrogen and adiponectin. Estrogen impacts multiple aspects of athletic performance. Increased fatty acid oxidation, blah, 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 blah. Decreased glycogen utilization. Increased insulin sensitivity. I got to pause there and just, okay, I'm not going to absolutely debunk it. I'm going to counter it with an argument. But I do want to point out my immediate assumption on glycogen utilization is that that's a bad thing. You want glycogen utilization. Okay, so not a biological scientist or a nutritionist or any of this stuff. My understanding is when you eat food, when you eat carbohydrates, it converts into glycogen strings, which are stored, I believe, in the liver and then burned. It's not fat. It's like the sugar energy your body uses right away. Fat is then burned in a smaller percentage so that there's a balance. If you're doing keto, you're basically burning nothing but fat, so your body burns its body fat quite a bit quickly. And the reason why they argue against keto is because you do want to have body fat and your body burns the sugars first. Long story short, if you're going to be doing a long distance run, you want to be burning your glycogen as well. I guess the argument is because women are burning fat when they run, they're able to run longer because of a slow energy burn compared to burning off all your glycogen. Ultimately, I think it makes very little sense. If you deplete either energy source, then you're tired and you're not going to be able to run. So whether it's glycogen now and fat later or fat now and glycogen later, either way, you have the same amount of energy stores.
He disproves his own argument right at the end.
I'm going to debunk this so easily. Here we go.
Well, I'm not going to debunk it. I'm going to make a counter.
No, that is wrong. Jason, you have the events wrong. First, he doesn't know how to read the damn words that are being used. And then he goes, well, okay, I don't know anything about this, so I'm not going to really debunk because I don't know what they're talking about. And then goes on to read exactly what they say, says that's bullshit, and then continues reading and then agrees with them. And then says,
but it doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter. What are you doing?
Right.
And then also goes, oh, and by the way, I'm not an actual biologist and I don't do anything. But let me give you my hot take.
The people that wrote these studies are.
Well, and here's the thing. He goes, I don't actually know if you need glycogen levels to do this, or if you're trying to decrease something, would that actually be a better way to do it? You know where a great place to look to figure out if that would be the case? In the damn study that you are criticizing, because I do a whole background literature review on this. Are you kidding me?
I think I finally got Joe. I got him.
If you want to make me angry, I don't know what it is about Tim Pool, but like compared to all the other people that we always have on here, Tim Pool always makes me the angriest because he has this weird veneer of like, I'm better than everybody else. I know what I'm doing. And because I'm like this level-headed centrist who knows what's happening. And maybe just because I have friends who also like Tim Pool, I'm like, you're eating this shit up. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. And you are just ranting constantly. And that's where Tim Pool is the best example I can give of what current conservatives are today, where they'll look at something, not have any clue of what they're even looking at, and then proceed to rant for how long? 11 minutes about how stupid it is when they have no clue what's going on. Oh, I'm so angry.
There is the other study that he doesn't mention at all, which is the archaeological evidence. And from what I can tell, based on the news article, it basically just says that in all of the archaeological evidence that we have, men and women have about the same evidence for injury that looks like it was from hunting, and women are buried with hunting tools as often as men, so that they likely shared these duties fairly equally.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Tim, of course, the Daily Mail article must not have gotten that far, or he didn't get that far in it, or whatever, but he never talks about the archaeological, which is half of what we're talking about here. He only talks about the physiology. And what does he think the best evidence for why women weren't hunters? Why is it that they wouldn't have had this role despite the evidence that was presented in these two studies?
The saying goes that a determined woman is stronger than the average man, but a determined man is stronger than a determined woman. That is not to insult women. Men can't create life. They can contribute to the process, and then women literally create the babies. That is not something to take lightly. But as we're getting into this era where people have disdain for humans and want there to be less, it does diminish women. You see, this is the political nature of modern science. Sorry, dude, I'm not trying to rag on women. Women can create human life. Males cannot. Males contribute biological matter to the creation of human life, but literally without women, there's no more humans. So I'm not surprised women aren't going to be running as far or as fast or hunting bears. Political nonsense. Political nonsense. I'll leave it there.
There it is.
Yep.
So cool.
So there you have it, ladies. It's okay. You can't be hunters. Men are better hunters than women. Tim Pool says so because he never sees you out at the skate park. But that's okay. You can have babies. That is your usefulness to society as carriers of our children.
So can I just say this screams, at least to me, and I hate using this language, but to me, like this just whole segment just screams pure beta male energy, where it's just, I'm not going to get beat by a girl. I'm not going to get beat up by a girl. I'm a man. I'm a man.
This is threatening Tim Pool's masculinity, the existence of this study.
Oh my God.
What do you care if prehistoric women
hunted as well as men?
Right. What does that matter to? No, it can't be.
I need to kill the boar. I want to kill the boar. I don't want to go shopping. Don't make me go shopping, Mom. Oh, apparently you need to play more Tim Pool because this is what gets me. Oh.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? It's hard to get any word in with this clown.
Welcome to part 2 of what will happen if Trump wins in 2024. Last time we looked at Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation's insane plans and what will happen if a Republican president gets elected again. This week, we want to listen to Trump's own words about what he wants to do. And a lot of this actually comes from Trump's campaign website. So his website has something called an Agenda 47, which is the 47th president of the United States, where he has tons of short, like 3-minute videos describing his plans for the United States. As of right now, there are 46 plans, and we are not going through all of them. I swear to God, we have enough in this script already. We want to highlight some just to show you that we're not pretending of what Trump wants to do, even from like last week. Trump also wants to be just as crazy as the Heritage Foundation is. So let's get started. I want to start with education, and we're going to talk about Trump's 10 principles for great schools.
Here are 10 key ideas that will power our movement for great schools. First, we will respect the right of parents to control the education of their children. Second, we will empower parents and local school board to hire and reward great principals and teachers, and also to fire the poor ones, the one whose performance is unsatisfactory. They will be fired. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired. Third, we will ensure our classrooms are focused not on political indoctrination, but on teaching the knowledge and skills needed to succeed. Reading, writing, math, science, arithmetic, and other truly useful subjects. Fourth, we will teach students to love their country, not to hate their country like they're taught right now. Fifth, we will support bringing back prayer to our schools. Sixth, we will achieve schools that are safe, secure, and drug-free, with immediate expulsion for any student who harms a teacher or another student. Seventh, we will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want. It's called school choice. Eighth, we will ensure students have access to project-based learning experiences inside the classroom to help train them for meaningful work outside the classroom. Ninth, we will strive to give all students access to internships and work experiences that can set them on a path to their first job. They're going to be very, very successful. I want them to be more successful than Trump. Let them go out and be more successful. I will be the happiest person in the world. But we want our children to have a great life and be successful. And 10th, we will ensure that all schools provide excellent jobs and career counseling so that high school and college students can get a head start on jobs and careers best suited to their God-given talents. This is how we will ensure a great education for every American child. And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C.
So what part of his 10 principles did you appreciate the most?
I can't remember any of it already. There's a bunch of stuff that already happens. School boards and parents can fire principals.
Prayer back in schools.
That's what they do.
Also, for those of you who have taken a break from listening to Donald Trump so much, get ready. There's a lot of Donald Trump speaking in this show. So are you saying we have a good plan, a good foundation for our education so far?
I don't even know what he said. I can't even remember half of what I just listened to. It was all meaningless. He said school choice.
Yep.
They call it school choice. Like, you have the choice of your schools.
And here's the other deal with this video. We had to trim this down just to get to the list because he rambles on for so long in
just
a
bunch
short
of axe grinding
video, right?
Saying that all schools do now is indoctrinate you.
And we're gonna fire the teachers, just like I do in The Apprentice. You're fired.
Yeah, he does the catchphrase. He says that they use racial, sexual, and political indoctrination on your kids.
So that's a good start. In another video, he also talks about how he's going to be the champion for homeschoolers. And I don't know, I just thought it was really funny. He just says this.
To every homeschool family, I will be your champion. Do not vote Democrat. They are looking to destroy you. If you don't mind my saying that, Joe Biden can't put two sentences together, and yet he's looking to destroy you. Do not vote Democrat. Do not vote for Crooked Joe. Vote for Honest Donald. Thank you very much.
That was in his video, President Trump's pledge to homeschool families.
So, don't support the guy who can't stay on track. But let me immediately subvert myself in my 2-minute video about educating your kids. But of course, that would be not enough for his education platform because he also has introduced the anti-woke university called American Academy. On November 1st, Trump said in a Truth Social post this.
In recent weeks, Americans have been horrified to see students and faculty at Harvard and other once respected universities expressing support for the savages and jihadists who attacked Israel. All Palestinians are savages and jihadists, says Donald Trump. We spend more money on higher education than any other country, and yet they're turning our students into communists and terrorist sympathizers. It's time to offer something dramatically different. The American Academy. It's an academy in America. They call it the American Academy.
And the whole idea of this academy is to basically, I guess, tax, fine, and sue large private university endowments, those like Harvard, Yale, etc., and pay for a nationalized online university.
And Trump has such a good track record in running these kinds of companies, Joe. Trump University, maybe you've heard of it.
We'll let you hear for yourself and see what American Academy is all about.
This institution will gather an entire universe of the highest quality educational content covering the full spectrum of human knowledge and skills and make that material available to every American citizen online for free. Whether you want lectures or ancient histories or an introduction to financial accounting or training in a skilled trade, the goal will be to deliver it and get it done properly. Using study groups, mentors, industry partnerships, and the latest breakthrough in computing, This will be a truly top-tier education option for the people. It will be strictly non-political, and there will be no wokeness or jihadism allowed. None of that's going to be allowed. Most importantly, the American Academy will compete directly with the existing and very costly four-year university system by granting students degree credentials that the U.S. government and all federal contractors will henceforth recognize. The Academy will award the full and complete equivalent of a bachelor's degree.
Totally non-political. We won't have any of that wokeness or jihadists. So it's all going to be, Israeli propaganda?
I don't know, man. And it's like just an online free. I mean, cool. I guess Trump is for free college. I don't know what the hell's going on. He does also say that you can get the equivalent of a bachelor's degree through this university, I guess. Okay.
Well, as long as he follows the Project 2025, remove all accreditation first.
Well, and that's kind of the funny thing about that is I believe the Heritage Foundation actually disagrees with him on this whole thing. And they've publicly criticized him. He's like, we can have better education without nationalized schools.
Right. You got to have private for-profit universities like Trump University was. You know, who cares that it went out of business and got sued and had to pay a bunch of money back to the students who they defrauded. Let's give this guy a second shot with taxpayer money instead.
Let's move on to immigration. In another part of his plan, Trump also announced that he would be ending citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants, something that people have been talking about: birthright citizenship or birth tourism, chain migration, anything you can think of.
Anchor babies. Let's ignore the fact that his own wife was not a citizen, and after she was made a citizen, then she brought her parents in. That's chain migration, right? But forget about that. She's white. It's okay.
And this, we won't play the video for you, but like even in this own video, he goes back to the whole idea of they're coming from mental institutions, they're coming from jails, they're prisoners, they're the toughest, the meanest people you'll ever see in your lives.
That's just more of they're not sending their best.
Literally.
They're sending rapists.
So we're in 2023,
murderers.
And he's still doing this. And then goes back to say, by the way, these children need to all go. So he's going to end all birthright citizenship and then immediately start deporting people left and right. Good start, right?
He said that it would be the largest mass deportation in American history. He said that he would enact the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to enable those deportations. Which I looked it up. This act allows the president only during wartime to deport males over the age of 14 from countries the United States is at war with. So I'm not sure how that's going to work.
Me neither.
He also, as you said he would end birthright citizenship. He said this while he was president the first time, but never did it. And again, I don't think it's possible. We have the 14th Amendment, which guarantees birthright citizenship, because the same conservatives at the time were saying that African Americans could not be citizens. This is literally Dred Scott. This is what Donald Trump wants to bring back. Dred Scott. Get rid of the 14th Amendment. You can't be a naturalized citizen if you're born here if you come from immigrant parents, which, I'm sorry, unless you are Native American, you come from immigrant families. We all do. So this is just racism.
Yeah.
And again, the people that this is being directed at, people from Mexico, South America, they were here first. Mexico is part of North America. They are quite literally Native Americans. We are not. And we're telling them that they need to get out of our land.
And speaking of that, quite literally, Trump has also declared war, or at least wants to declare war, on drug cartels, mainly from Mexico. And Trump has said that he wants to deploy special forces into countries like Mexico against Mexico's wishes to wage war on drug cartels and treat them like terrorist organizations. What is it when you send troops into another country to
well, then he could use the Enemy Aliens, the Alien Enemies Act, because then it'd be declaring war on Mexico. Yes, if you want to really hurt the drug cartels in Mexico, make guns illegal. Where do you think they're getting all the weapons from?
Yeah.
That's what is being used. Like, they sell us drugs, we sell them guns. That's how this works. We never talk about that, right? How many times do you hear fentanyl, and how it's killing Americans? Mexico is killing Americans. It's the exact same thing with guns coming from the United States and going into Mexico. We are killing Mexicans with American guns.
Yeah.
And we don't, who cares, right? It doesn't matter. They're not really humans.
Right, they're brown. I also want to point out, too, that Trump isn't the only GOP candidate for president who has also said we should wage war in Mexico against the cartels.
We talked about, Vivek Ramaswamy has said this multiple times during multiple debates, saying that he wanted to smoke the terrorists on our southern border.
Yep. But moving on, as part of the America First fantasy they have, we also have Trump's brilliant idea of freedom cities. Play the link.
Past generations of Americans pursued big dreams and daring projects that once seemed absolutely impossible. They pushed across an unsettled continent and built new cities in the wild frontier. Almost 1/3 of the landmass of the United States is owned by the federal government, with just a very, very small portion of that land, just a fraction, 1/2 of 1%. Would you believe that? We should hold a contest to charter up to 10 new cities and award them to the best proposals for development. In other words, we'll actually build new cities in our country again. These freedom cities will reopen the frontier, reignite American imagination, and give hundreds of thousands of young people and other people, all hardworking families, a new shot at home ownership and, in fact, the American dream.
So, federal funding for housing? I'm all for it. I don't think that's what he's proposing.
Supreme socialist leader, Donald Trump.
Yeah, I wonder who will get the building permits for all of this. I wonder who has a construction company and real estate business that would maybe profit from all of this federal spending. Can't think of anybody, Joe. I don't know why Donald Trump of Trump Enterprises is proposing this idea. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Well, okay, and my whole thing is, what's the plan here? We have, these 10 new cities that are coming in for, who are you going to take it from? People from other cities? Like, okay. So then those cities go up dramatically in housing prices like crazy because I guess if they're going to be as good as these people say they are, they're not. Then we just create more big cities that are going to have all the same issues as our other cities. But even then, aren't these also, Republicans are the party of the rural voter. So you're just enticing other rural people to go away from rural communities and make them more desolate. What's the plan here? And this is all at the cost of the taxpayers.
My interpretation of this is just a scheme to funnel more government money into Donald Trump's businesses, just like he does with the Secret Service. And as we talked about earlier in the episode, his children profiting off of Trump's presidency, that this is just a furtherance of that. Like, oh, I'm sure they'll just be randomly chosen from the applicants to design these freedom cities and won't go specifically to Trump-linked development companies. Yeah, I don't know what the need for this is. Are we at some kind of premium for, like, just pay for federal housing?
Yeah.
And that's all you need to do. You don't have to invent new cities for some reason. Most of the country is pretty much uninhabited. There's no need to somehow, and he's evoking like frontier era westward expansion rhetoric, and I don't understand why. I think he's just trying to appeal to that aesthetic.
And it's funny you said that because literally in a different video, he talks about how he wants to save the suburbs from, I'm not kidding, low income housing and having taxpayers pay for subsidized housing.
And then outlines a plan to build subsidized housing, which is like, this is his populist leanings. He knows that housing is a real issue and the cost of housing is way too high, and that's a concern for a lot of people, especially younger people. So he comes up with, well, I've got to have something for that. So it's going to be freedom cities. But again, what's the actual plan other than him spewing this nonsense? It's not there. And again, and then he's attacking government subsidized housing, which is essentially his answer to this problem. So one thing of Trump, one final clip that I want to play. You've probably seen it. It was from a town hall in Iowa this month that Trump did with Sean Hannity, which oddly enough I could not find on Fox News.
It was tough.
I couldn't find it at all. It's not there.
Oh.
I could only find a town hall from 3 years ago that Sean Hannity did with Trump in Green Bay.
Oh.
And there are a few short clips from this town hall.
But not the one that you want to play?
But not the one I want to play. They have when Sean Hannity first asks this question and Trump doesn't answer it and gives a rambling answer about how much he is a victim of the Biden administration and compares himself to Al Capone. But they don't actually have the second time that Hannity asked the question because he knows that Trump didn't answer it. But I found it on Twitter, so let me play that for you now.
Yeah. Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight, you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
for?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not. That's
drill.
That's not.
No, no.
That's not retribution. I'm
going to be. You know, he keeps. We love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No, no, no. Other than day one, we're closing the border." And we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
So that sounds to me like you're going back to the policies when you were president. All right,
exactly.
Take a break. Just getting started. We're in beautiful Davenport, Iowa.
And Sean Hannity was crapping his pants.
Right. He was desperate to spin that. Oh, Trump said he would be a dictator. Well, you didn't really mean it like that. That's not being a dictator. That's just you being president.
Yes, I did. Well, no, you're just going back to your powers. No, I'm going to actually be like a whole fascistic dictator on day one.
Yeah, and we're going to close the border and destroy our national resources. Again, it's so irritating to me, that whole drill thing, and everyone's like so excited about it, right? Oh, we'll have cheap gas. This is what drilling means. The United States currently, mostly in federal lands, which is the entire reason why the president would talk about it, because he controls federal lands.
Yep.
There are resources under those lands. Oil, gas, very valuable resources. The real reason we don't touch those is because we keep it as some kind of strategic reserve in case we run out of resources in the rest of the world, we would still have them. But here's the thing. Those resources belong to the people of the United States. They're federal lands. They belong to all of us equally. We are the owners of these valuable resources. What Donald Trump and the Republicans want to do is to sell those resources that we all own to oil companies, so the oil companies can make billions and trillions of dollars and then sell those resources that they took from us back to us for profit. We get nothing out of this deal. We get absolutely nothing. And oil companies make billions and trillions of dollars. And the idiots in that town hall
lop it up.
Super excited for it. Yes, exploit our resources for the profit of private corporations and destroy the environment doing it.
But let's go back to the other part that enraged a lot of people of that clip. I'll be dictator for a day on day one. And this is where it gets actually scary. We talked before about how Project 2025 laid out how the next Republican president wants to gut tons of institutions and fill them all with political loyalists and make sure that any checks and balances we have are just no longer present. Trump also wants that. He's laid out plans in multiple videos about how he wants to go after the deep state by basically aggressively firing everyone who's not a Trump loyalist in a civil servant role in every department. He's talked about how he wants to bring the FCC and the FTC under presidential authority, and he's proposed putting in new civil service tests for anyone who would actually be in these civil service roles to have their idea of what a limited government should be. And if they fail those tests, they don't get hired in the White House. And that's not all. Trump has explicitly said multiple times he's going to use his power to go after his political opponents. There's a good Washington Post article talking about how Trump has talked in private to other people about how he's going to use the DOJ to go after his one-time officials and other allies who have become critical of him including John F. Kelly, William Barr, Ty Cobb, and Mark Milley. It's a vengeance-based campaign and a vengeance-based governing strategy that's all based around satiating Donald Trump's ego.
And I saw in a July 2022 speech for the America First Policy Institute, Trump said that a president should have the authority to deploy the National Guard to restore order without the approval of some governor. And for the party that constantly harps about states' rights, this is a clear and direct violation of states' rights. The National Guard is the evolution of the state militias, the people that actually are authorized by the Constitution to keep and bear arms, not every citizen, but the actual state militias. If you read the Constitution literally, the National Guard is there specifically to defend the state from the power of the federal government. And Trump wants to remove that power from the states and give it to himself, so that if people are, say, protesting in the streets, he can use the National Guard to arrest them, which he tried to do while president the first time.
And I don't know about you, Jason, that sounds like maybe it's fascism to me? Maybe?
Little bit. Also, at a Lee County Republican dinner from this year on April 21st in Fort Myers, Florida, Trump declared that on day one of my new administration, I will direct the Department of Justice to investigate every radical district attorney and attorney general in America for their illegal, racist in reverse enforcement of the law.
He's also even added to that on his own campaign, saying how he's going to come after the Marxist Soros-backed prosecutors. So, cool.
Yep. Again, using the power of the federal government to attack state officials.
Yep.
He has stated multiple times that he intends to overturn the Impoundment Control Act of 1974, which would remove the budgetary power away from Congress and place it in the hands of the president. So, say he wanted to control funding to, say, Ukraine in order to get, political favors, maybe investigate his political opponent in an election, he would have the sole power to do that.
And finally, any president is nothing without the people they put in power. And if you thought the people that Trump put in charge before were bad, wait until you find out that all the better ones have left. Axios actually put together a list of VP hopefuls and people Trump is considering to appoint to high office. And that includes people like, for VP, J.D. Vance, Tucker Carlson.
Apparently he's Melania's pick.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and Byron Donalds, who we've all talked about in previous episodes with their absolutely radically insane ideas.
I believe Marjorie Taylor Greene was also mentioned in that article.
It is. For a high office, you have Stephen Miller, the literal white supremacist.
And member of Trump's first administration.
Mike Davis, a former counsel for nominations to Senator Chuck Grassley as Attorney General, who, by the way, promised a 3-week reign of terror in which he would put kids in cages and jail prosecutors and journalists who have gone after Trump. Great. Kash Patel, a former protege under Devin Nunes to maybe run the CIA, who, by the way, in Trump's final weeks, tried to install as deputy director of the CIA for the sole purpose of finding and giving documents that could damage political enemies. A move so brazen that even the acting CIA director, Gina Haspel, threatened to resign over the whole thing. And of course, even though they had bad blood once, maybe even Steve Bannon a little bit.
And they were saying maybe chief of staff.
Again.
Bannon. Because unlike some others who Trump spurned during his first administration, like Chris Christie, Steve Bannon has remained firmly stuck to Trump's ass.
Because that's who he is. And we talked again about those 50,000 civil servants that Trump might replace with political loyalists. Axios also received questionnaires from the outgoing Trump administration in 2020 and a question for the Project 2025 project, who are trying to recruit all of these people. And they include questions like, what part of candidate Trump's campaign message most appealed to you and why? Briefly describe your political evolution. What thinkers, authors, books, or political leaders influenced you and led you to your current beliefs? And whether they agree with any of these statements like, the education industry should be open to increase competition through vouchers or tax credits for private schools.
They call it school choice.
The U.S. has the right to select immigrants based on country of origin.
Yay, no brown people.
The permanent institutions of family and religion are foundational to American freedom and the common good. And of course, the president should be able to advance his or her agenda through the bureaucracy without hindrance from unelected federal officials.
Checks and what now?
Right. So basically, the people are being forced to even say, by the way, I agree that I will have no power and you have all the power for me, for the civil servants that he's supposedly going to rehire. And we'll end it with this. As an alum of the Trump White House told Axios, quote, they want to see that you're listening to Tucker and not pointing to the Reagan Revolution or any George W. Bush stuff. It's not about typical republicanism anymore. It's about vengeance-based politics. It's about giving Trump exactly what he wants to get him off scot-free for all the things he's done in the last administration.
They want an authoritarian regime. I think Trump wants to be president for life. He tried to do that the first time, and there were enough people that said no that were able to stop him from seizing power. He literally tried. We saw it happen on January 6th.
And I think that's the point, Jason, is he tried it the first time and they weren't prepared.
Yeah, they didn't have the right people in place in enough positions in order to enable Donald Trump to go through with it. Literally, had Donald Trump showed up at the Capitol, what would the Capitol Police have done?
Right.
They can't stop the president from entering the Capitol building. And he wanted to, and reportedly literally tried to yank the steering wheel out of a Secret Service driver's hands in order to go to the Capitol. But again, there were enough people who told him no. He wants to remove all of those people so that the next time there's no one to stop him from literally taking over the government. It's very easy to see where this goes, and it has gone this exact way in other parts of the world. And another Trump presidency is terrifying, and I feel can only lead to that place. Luckily, Donald Trump's not in the greatest health and is an old man, where being president for life may not actually be that long. That's literally our only hope.
Sure, but the ideology will last far longer than Donald Trump. Project 2025 will happen, whether it's Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, or whoever. It's going to happen. And that's where I think it's important to understand if somebody tells you who they are and what they're going to do, you should believe them.
Tells you and shows you.
Right. And that was the whole point of this two-parter, right? Is we wanted to show people that there is no excuse. You cannot pretend to have your head in the sand and just say, no, you know what? It'll be fine. It can't be any worse than Joe Biden right now. Yes, it will. And here's exactly what they're going to do. We already saw what happened after one Trump term. We cannot afford another.
And a reminder to our listeners as we close out, there will not be an episode next week as we will be off for Christmas, but we will see you in 2 weeks.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, Happy Festivus for the rest of us. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Thank you for listening. We hope to see you in the next episode. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at ThinkProPod. You can email us at thinkpropod@gmail.com. And remember, when in doubt, think progressively. You don't want to watch Lady Ballers?
No. I hear it's not even...
I heard it's not even good.
Right, like they don't even go like full super rhetoric. It's just dumb, bad jokes.
Yes, that's what I heard too. And like very bad acting.
Well, yeah, it's all of the Ben Shapiro people.
And there's Ted Cruz in it.
Oh, yay. And I mean, like, if you want that movie, Joanna Man is already there.
Yeah, but if you want Joanna Man and more racist and more sexist, then you got Lady Ballers. Lady Ballers is for people who like say like Joanna Man was too woke.
Well, he's black, so